Chuck and Julie, bringing you the truth, straight up.
I'm Julie Hayden, and I'm working at
An Emmy-winning former investigative reporter, a highly successful trial attorney, and publisher of a major Denver area newspaper. They've been partners as talk show hosts and in marriage, as parents for over 10 years, providing thought-provoking information, opinion, and entertainment live, local, and interactive. Everyone's voice is always welcome on the Chuck and Julie Show.
So we have John Graboski and Bill Rutledge, who had reached out to us. They're with the Colorado Convention of States. And guys, if you want to go ahead and you can unmute yourself and turn your cameras on and pop on up on Zoom if you want. And there we go.
There I am.
All
Hi.
right. And you, which one who are you, Bill or John?
I'm John.
I'm John.
Okay, John.
Okay, and then Bill, you can come on too. There's room for all. There we go.
There it is.
Am I there? I'm here.
And you know,
All right.
I'll just
Hello,
ask.
Bill.
I'll just ask the question, so
Hi,
whichever
Chuck.
one of you wants to answer it. So you are with the Colorado Convention of States. I'm going to start out real basically. What is that, and what are you guys trying to do?
Okay, I'll take the lead on this. I will give you my elevator speech here in about 30 seconds. I want to start out with a quote from Abraham Lincoln, because we get accused of all kinds of things with the Constitution. But he said, "We, the people, are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution." And so I kind of like to summarize our purpose is to get rid of the perverts in Washington who are distorting our Constitution. Convention of States, elevator speech, okay? COS is a national, highly organized movement to enable citizens, we the people, to regain individual sovereignty from an increasingly tyrannical, totalitarian federal government. We are advocating for a convention of states as authorized by Article 5 of the Constitution. You want me to stop? Do you have a Article 5?
No, that's good. Keep going. Okay.
Now, Article 5, small paragraph. It enables the states to pass a resolution to call a convention to propose specific amendments to the Constitution. Now, the only other organization that can propose amendments to the Constitution is the U.S. Congress. Most people don't know that the state legislatures can call a convention to propose amendments if 34 of the states, pass the resolution, and it's got to be the same resolution.
Okay.
And now the amendments that we're calling for are the most popular: term limits for Congress and federal officials, imposing fiscal restraints on Congress, and reducing the size and power of the federal government. So 3 types of amendments. We are not trying to rewrite either the Second or the 19th Amendment. Okay, we've been accused of both. Now, any amendments passed in such a state convention would still have to be sent for ratification by the states, and 38 states have to ratify it for it to become law, part of the Constitution. Let me stop there. That's what we're all about.
So how many states have passed such this resolution so far?
Oh, well, I could not have planted that better. Thank you. It's currently 19 states. We've been in business 10 years. We've got 19 states. They've passed the resolution, both houses of their legislatures. However, we have 2 more, North Carolina and Kansas, who have passed it in both houses of their state legislatures. But there are legal, technical protocols they have to go through in order to actually become official. So I count that as 21. And just to round out the inventory here, 7 states have passed the resolution in one house. And then in 17 other states, we have active COS legislation, including here in Colorado.
Well, let me, Bill, then ask you. I mean, what are the only way?
Well, let me ask you, why is it 34? That's kind of a strange number.
It's got to be 2/3.
Okay.
It's a 2/3 requirement to call it, but it's a 3/4 requirement to ratify.
Gotcha.
So, Bill, in Colorado, though, I mean, you know, you got
no chance.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, what's your thinking or what's your strategy in Colorado to kidnap Jared Polis? Or no, I'm kidding, but
no. The task at hand, really, for us at this point in time, is to educate the public, the citizenry, of their rights, and in this case, their right and their power through the use of this tool, Article 5, to change some things, try to make some effort to change some things, which I think we're all feeling need to be addressed as we look at the whole situation day to day. We've done numerous, this past year particularly, we've done numerous different things, like at the state fair, we were down there, had a booth. And we would ask people, and every time I'd ask somebody, have you ever heard of the term Convention of States? It was the deer in the headlight look. It was like, no, we don't. What is this about? And so we would chat to them about what it is if they took a moment with us. And the idea was to just inform them that this is what they can do. And we invited them to sign our petition. And we got over 1,000 petitions signed at the Colorado State Fair in the August-September timeframe. And this is what we're trying to do to inform them, because every time they go and they sign the petition, their legislator in their district will be informed of their interest in this subject. The numbers add up. So the greater the numbers, I guess overall, the greater attention the legislator will take and make on this issue.
Let me ask you guys, let me interrupt and ask you this, though, because and just to let our audience know, too, there are some people who are against this, and they had contacted us, too, and I think we're going to try to have them on, so everybody can make up their own mind. But one question, it seems to me, is this sort of a Pandora's box? In other words, I would agree with the amendments that you're suggesting, but what's to prevent the sneaky Democrats from putting in something and getting, other amendments passed? I mean, that would be...
Right. Thank you for that question. We get it all the time. There are 3 safeguards, and one is in the resolution itself: the term limits, fiscal restraints, and limiting the federal government. That's the resolution. Okay. Secondly, remember, anything that gets proposed has to be ratified by 38 states. I don't know if you know the history, but in our 247 years, we've had 4,000 amendments proposed to the Constitution. And how many have made it? 27. So but thirdly, and most people don't know this, of the 19 states that have ratified it, 12 of them have passed what we call delegate legislation or companion legislation. And it says very specifically, here's how we select, appoint, and charge, tell them what they can do and can't do. And fourthly, how do we hold them accountable? I've read several of those pieces of legislation, and some of the penalties for becoming rogue and not staying with your commission, your charge, is jail. Oh. And I don't know how to get more serious in appointing delegates than saying, if you don't stick with this, we're going to, 90 days in the county jail. So those are the 3 major safeguards, regardless of what our opponents and our critics say.
Okay.
Well, let me bring up the one that I've seen on the left. They're saying, after you get the 34, but Congress must call it. And they say, well, and Congress can set the terms of what you can do and not do. Because as we found out with our wonderful courts, the left will
just rule whatever they want to.
Yeah.
Right. That's a very good question. Congress is, and this has been vetted by constitutional scholars and lawyers, they get to do 2 things: where and when, and within a reasonable time. It passes, okay. When? How about next month? Where? Pick it. And that's all Congress gets to do.
That's all Congress can do. Unfortunately, as we've seen in these indictments on Trump, or the fact that they reinterpret the 14th Amendment, Section 3, they don't really care if they can do it or not, as long as they can get a judge to say it's right, and then they control the procedures. So there's some fear of that. And the other thing that I think people historically remember is that the French Revolution was started when they called the Estates General, which could be in some sense, a convention of states or a type of, where they evolved the states, and then it went wild. So there's always that fear also.
Agreed. I think both of those are very, very. I don't think there's much chance at all of either of those two things. I mean, but in particular, Congress tried to pull a fast one. We have very, very good legal staff nationally and constitutional scholars. We'd be at the Supreme Court in a minute on it.
Let me ask you this. And so we know, and again, there's just to make it clear, there's arguments against this, and we'll have those folks on too. But I would back to what you guys are trying to do, because I want to give you guys a fair chance to explain yours. I would think that given the unpopularity of this president, given the current economic situation, given, as Chuck has said, what we've seen the courts or the Department of Justice, the FBI do, and whoever wants to answer this, I would think that this is something that, because we've heard about this for a long time, that there would be, I mean, are you seeing more support for this kind of idea?
Thank you again. Not quite 3 years ago, propitious date, 3 years ago, we had about 42,000 petition signers in the state of Colorado. We have close to 54,000 now. Wow. That's significant growth. Now, we've done a lot of grassroots activity to get those, but Biden has been our best publicity. He has. I will tell you that it was what Bill was talking about. We don't have any money. We're not allowed to campaign for candidates. Okay. However, the more petitions we have signed, that's our currency. Now, I'm legislative liaison to the legislature. That's a fancy name for the lobbyist. I can tell you that I don't have money, but if I go into that legislator's office and say, hey, you have roughly 47,000 voters in I'm talking about a House district, and only about 60% of them vote. And guess what? I've got 1,600 petition signers in your district. And here they are. By the way, we got pages of them. Here are the petition signers. 2-3% of the people that show up to vote. That makes a difference. They can swing an election. And that's one of the leverages that I use when I talk to them, both Democrat and Republican. We're nonpartisan. But the other thing is, we've got term limits in this state. We've had them for 32 years? Nobody's ever tried to reverse them. And secondly, we have TABOR. We have ostensibly a balanced budget law in this state. And the question I keep asking our distinguished legislators is, why do you guys operate under that, but your buddies in DC get a free ride? Yeah. I don't get it. Why not?
Well, why not those principles? I would think that the exploding deficit of increasing trillions every year would be a great selling point, because your second one is basically some form of a balanced budget, similar to what Colorado has. And it seems that there's no ability, whether it's Republicans are in there or Democrats are in there, to stop the enormous debt bomb. And quite frankly, that is what happened in France in 1789. There was an exploding of spending, and in order to get approval, they had to get approval of the upper classes to tax themselves. So I would think that this enormous debt threat is a great
selling point.
Very much so, for those who care about it. There's so many that they ignore it, and they don't think it's a big deal. Those are the really tough ones. I will tell you that, because you're asking the right question. How are we making out in the legislature? 2 years ago, we introduced the resolution in the House. It barely got to some debate in the committee, and then it got killed in committee right at the end of the session. Yeah. Last year, we introduced it into the Senate. There were 5 members on the committee that it was referred to, and it got killed in committee 3-2 along party lines. However, we had 20 of our supporters give testimony in support of it, which was a win. And guess what? We're going to introduce it in the House again this session. And I intend to have 150 people there giving testimony in support of it. This we're not going to go away. We're playing the long game. Ideally, 2024, that election will make a big difference. It's interesting. Privately, because I don't have any Democrat supporters. They're all Republican. Okay. Right. And I'm the first to admit that. But I have some of them who admit to me privately, I kind of agree with those first two, term limits and the spending. But, my party will not allow me, will not allow me to support. And then I lose support. And I said, okay, I hear you, but at least I appreciate you being honest and giving me the feedback, because you're right. Your historical perspective is wonderful. Back to the French resolution, you're reminding me. So we are making progress. We ain't gonna go away. We have a very, very organized state team, as well as dozens of volunteers. And this past year, we gained a lot of visibility just with grassroots activities. And in fact, this is the third one of these that we're doing in 3 months. 2 years ago, I was only dreaming about getting on the radio or a podcast. So I appreciate this opportunity from the two of you. I really do. Makes
I think it's important, and I think one of the things we try to say in the show, I mean, we're grassroots. Everybody who listens to us knows where we come from. But on something like this, I think there are two sides, and I
really don't think there are. I mean, the vast majority of grassroots people support it. Certainly, term limits, although I don't think it's made any improvement in Colorado. The ones that are really, the ones that are really, if we had a balanced budget thing, if we had limitation on federal powers, I mean, that would be tremendous. Just like in Colorado, it'd be perverted, just like Tabor has been, and credit. But that would really make a huge difference. And I think grassroots overwhelm. And then there are always some people who, too many angels on the head of a pin. But I think it's generally. What is the most purple state that you've gotten in the 19 or 21?
Oh gosh, that's tough for me to answer, because it took us 10 years, and we do have 19 states.
So things have changed, yeah.
Some of those the shades have changed. We got a pastel pink instead of a purple. It's hard for me to say that, but
well, give me some that could be considered more.
Could be. Well, Ohio hasn't passed it, but they're working on it very, very hard. We've had, let's see, North Carolina, which is still waiting to make it official. That was not a walk in the park.
No,
that took 3-4 years of really hard work there. Let's see. It's interesting when you look at the map, the whole southern part of the country come up, and it follows the electoral map. I mean, it really does. But we've had some great successes, especially in the last 2 years. 5 of those 19, actually out of the 21, 5 of them happened in the last 2 years. So the momentum has really picked up.
Which states are those?
Let's see, we had West Virginia, South Carolina, was it Wisconsin? And then, of course, North Carolina and Kansas are the 2 that aren't official yet, but they've got it passed in both houses of their legislature.
All right, we've got to give a question for your cohort.
Good, get him.
Yes.
You always got to be a good listener.
He's right about that.
Sort of the national level, and Bill, I get that, because you're a Coloradan, right? And you're kind of involved in the local thing. I mean, can you talk about which legislators you're working with, or and then also just an open-ended question too, if people want to find out more about what's going on in Colorado, where can they go?
Good one.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this is that John has worked up, his crew has worked up a list of legislators that we're working with, and we're also focusing on to identify them as individuals that we need to really get people below in their districts on board to let them know that we support and that they support this whole initiative. It's a battle uphill. It's an uphill battle for us to get the legislators, because of the blue red volume, if you will. And So we've identified those Democratic, if you will, legislators that we've got to focus on, and in particular, those that are involved on the committees.
Okay.
We have to the resolution and the putting it out there through the committee. Someone on those committees has to get through committee vote first.
Yeah.
Before it'll ever get to the House floor. So that's the dynamic. We didn't get it out of committee last year on the votes that happened. So we have to keep working on them first.
Steps, basically.
And then also informing and educating the rest of the legislators, both in the House and the Senate, about the issue and about this whole proposal. And so we do have a proposal. We're working on it right now through our Veterans Coalition here, particularly. We're coming up with a letter writing campaign in order to inform the individuals of individuals' desires in this, and it makes a much more a greater impact if a legislator gets a piece of mail, a letter, in their hands in lieu of an email or a text message and that kind of case. So we know the value of that. And John mentioned earlier about if he comes in, on the 10th of January or shortly thereafter and says, here they are, we've got this many different letters, and particularly the veterans. One of the committees in the House, I think it is, correct me if I'm wrong, John, it is the Veterans Committee.
State Civic, Military and Veterans Affairs Committee.
That's an official kill committee, isn't it?
Pardon me?
It's a kill committee. It's where the Speaker of the House.
You're too knowledgeable. It is, as I learned last year.
Time. So before Chuck, that's a downer. Where can people go to get more information about this? Bill, where can they go?
You can visit conventionofstates.com, and there you open up into the big site. You can get into the COS in Colorado also, and you can download, you can purchase information of different booklets and things of that nature. I have it, for example, you can get a pocket guide that has a lot of good information in it. And then you can also sign the petition right there. Once you've read what you're reading, and if you support what we support in regards to what we're driving for, you can take the initiative right now. The key thing I think I'd like to say from my standpoint is, my observations, is that we just didn't get here in this country today. It's taken a long time, and it's unfortunate, in my opinion, that apathy has played a lot into this.
Yeah.
The public, when I was younger, it was like, I don't want to get into politics. That's a dirty business. Let somebody else do it. Well, and that's true in many regards, but now's the time. If people aren't getting fed up with what they're doing, we're saying, here's a tool. Right. If we don't do it, who will?
Right.
All right.
And we get what we get if we're not involved. And so this is an opportunity for those who have an interest. Take the time. Time is now.
Yeah.
Get involved. Take a stand. Get off the fence. Choose, because we truly are in a situation, as I see it through my different research. This is a time of good and evil, very, very distinctly. And I'd like to share this too. Our whole organization is based on our faith in God, and we come from that, and we rely on that, and that is where our hope lies.
All right.
But we need to have people that want to take initiative and make it. Make a difference.
Thanks so much for coming on, you guys.
Amen.
The show is over. So
you
guys,
thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Go to
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's a conventionofstates.com.
Conventionofstates.com. Yep.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.
You bet.